Thank you for watching. I'm John Razimus. My last video I uploaded, I held on to it for a year. That footage is from last February of 2018. It's hard to look at that footage and not see what I saw because I can't see it from someone else's perspective. I can try to see it from another person's perspective, and it might be underwhelming to some people. That's because it's real, all right? When you film a spirit doing something, first of all, I'm not going to edit this video at all. I can recall everything that happened because it actually happened. This is a true story. I was driving through town. This particular town, I knew there was a house built in the 1830s. It said Pirate on the plaque, dedicated 1950. I had been there 3 times in the broad daylight before, around noon. Stark, bright, sunny day, and I never noticed anything. I didn't notice a single spirit vibe. In the daytime, it's a peaceful, happy, totally old, run-down historical monument from the 1830s. And there's no sense that it's haunted whatsoever. But after reading up, hearing, watching many experts in the field of investigations of spirits repeat time and time again, and then hearing it in mythology from thousands of years ago, that spirits, they almost live in abandoned buildings because they know humans aren't going to bother them there. And so, knowing this information for a good number of months, I mean, I had heard about it fleetingly here and there, but I really had heard it, we're talking dozens of times, in different sources I had researched. And driving through this town, I knew, even though it's 3:40 a.m., February 18th, in the middle of the night, I wanted to pull over and check out this 1830s house in the pitchness of black. The moon was not out on February 18th. On the Pacific coast anyway, it was pitch black. But I had purchased a few infrared lights. One of them has a 9-volt. Let's cut straight to me trudging through the forest. I twisted my ankle so bad, it took about 3 months to heal. And I left that part in. I cut out probably 10 minutes of me making my way through the forest, the woods, and I cut out probably 20 more minutes of footage of me just walking around that section where the entity stepped on the grass. It is 100% authentic footage. The audio is not manipulated except for I had to boost it 1,000%. That's probably an exaggeration. I boosted it however high you can boost something without it hurting your ears. I didn't want to have the listeners have their ears hurt. But I boosted it. I tried to boost it to the level of how I heard it when I was there. And as loud as it is in the video I last posted, part 1 of my documentary, The Grist Mill Ghost and the Good Pirate. This is a series. And it's not for entertainment. This channel is education. This channel has never been for entertainment, except for here and there. I have tried to make some entertaining videos, I'm not going to lie. Pyramidal was a comedy, entertaining thing. And I did a couple other comedy spoofs, making fun of this or that. But my ghost investigation videos are dead serious. I've spent thousands of dollars on this stuff. I bought this device here exclusively for the 1830s house. You will see me use this device the second time I visited the house in July of 2018. The third time I visited the house in the middle of the night, I'm talking about night investigations, was the end of September 2018. And we're coming up on the 1 year that I first encountered this spirit. In this very month of February, I'm going back to the 1830s house for the 4th time. This house is thousands of miles from my house. You know what? I was going to get the number, but I forgot. Let me get my phone real quick. And yes, this is going to be unedited because you know what? Apologize for the lack of being prepared, but I can Google Maps it. Let's see exactly how far away this pirate house is. I'm going to talk about the grass, and I'm probably going to make a second video talking about the footsteps in the grass. In this particular video, I don't feel like I need to throw in the clip and do 1,000 edit jobs, but I will make a video where I throw it in and I narrate it even in more detail than I did in the documentary. Check out my last video, The Grist Mill Ghost and the Good Pirate. It's part 1 of a, for all I know, 4-part documentary. After those parts are uploaded with their very small views, I'm going to fuse them together into a 2-hour plus documentary. And let's see. Okay. Let's see how far. 626 miles from my house. This, approximately, the town in which, or the city, or I'm not going to give you too many details. I don't want the place bothered. It's a pristine, hardly touched 1830s building, which happens to have an actual spirit there every single time I showed up at night. In the daytime, the 3 times I went there in the daytime, actually I've been there 4 times in the day. Didn't notice anything. Turned on my devices, nothing. So this spirit prefers the night. Very common, cliche, in fact, but spirits love the night. The veil is thinner, they say. I can attest to that. Spirits can see in pitch blackness. 626 miles from my house to the pirate house, to the 1830s house, to the haunted house in my last video. 626. All right, let's do some math. I'm very bad at math. 626 times 2 equals 1,252 miles round trip. From my house to the 1830s house and back. 1,252 miles. I've made that trip on 3 separate months. February last year, July last year, September of last year, and back. Times 3 equals 3,756 miles. I am driving back and forth to this location, not because it's an 1830s house. I would say the mall parking lot, just a couple miles from my house, is 10 times more haunted than this 1830s house. But the 1830s house ghost, spirit, even demon, if you will, it is a lot more cooperative in setting devices like this off. If I took this to the haunted mall parking lot, which some people say, oh, you're just talking to the wires under the parking lot, dude. You know what? I know what sets off the static field around these devices, and I know what doesn't set it off. You could say I'm a scientist when it comes to this stuff by now. I would say the typical ghost investigator buys this stuff, tries it out, gets freaked out, sells it on eBay. They don't want to have anything to do with it. Well, it works too good. Or they buy it, play with it, drink a beer, don't think much of it, and they're like, that's not for me. What do I get out of it? It's not like I'm metal detecting for gold. You're just detecting for ghosts. And when you find one, you're not going to strike it rich. Me investigating ghosts is to show to the world spirits exist, but I understand. There are skeptics. Be skeptical. It's healthy to have a mind that isn't so open it falls out. You've heard the brains falling out joke, you know. You don't want to have a mind so out there that you have a flat brain, like the flat heads out there. I'm a very logical, rational, reasonable, scientific, loving individual that loves science. Usually when you come across someone that has a diehard belief in ghosts, they're going to be a Bible thumper. Here's the Bible, here's the verse right here, man. Now, that individual could be amazing. That's just how they talk. That's just what they believe. As for me, I believe in science, all right? But I also believe in the dimensions that are invisible. I'm wearing my new Mysterialis Ghost Investigation t-shirt. Just came here. I'd say if I had any gripe on this t-shirt, I'm pretty sure I had it go up to here, and I kind of bumped it down to the center. So that's just, maybe they pushed it down an inch or lower than I wanted it to be, but it's not a big deal. It looks pretty nice. It's actually high res. Not selling the t-shirts. I am selling the t-shirts, but this video is not about that. This video is about the fact that I spent thousands of dollars, and even more thousands of dollars. I have all the stuff right here. I got all this stuff. I got it all. It's all laying around. It's laying around my room. I used to have it in a ghost investigation compartment, a nice chest, and someone freaking took it. I don't know where it is. So I just lay it around my house, but not too many minutes into circling the place a couple times. You saw the video, or maybe you didn't. It has pretty low views. For me talking about a video for a year straight, you think people would want to see it. I wasn't hyping it. I just wanted to wait for the right time. So I still have to edit part 2. Around 4:30 a.m. Maybe it was 4:20 a.m. Got out of my car around 3:50 a.m. Trudged through the forest for 15 or 20 minutes. I can't remember how long. So, 4:10, 4:15, 4:20, 4:25, 4:30, around there a.m. I didn't bring my only watch, my cell phone with me. I turned it off and left it in the car. Because cell phones can theoretically set off devices like this, the Mel meter. Here's one of my Mel meters. This Mel meter, I have a new antenna for it. It's considerably longer, and this might make for a interesting experiment. I can say right here and now that I am planning a 4th experiment. I know you haven't seen experiment from part 2 or 3 yet, but I obviously already have. And after seeing that footage of the apparition, one comment said it's dust, and I deleted the comment. And I'll tell you why I deleted the comment. I'm happy to respond and reply to it, though. So you got your word in there. It's not dust. It's not fog. Not dust and not fog. When I heard the rock being thrown, I assume it was a rock. It could have been a piece of tile from the roof. There was no humans there other than myself. The only living beings there were myself. The house across was full of bats. There were no animals or bats in the grist mill. No humans on the roof, no humans around. I was the only human being within a vast radius. I'd say the closest human would have been the closest house, And at 4:30 a.m. they would have been dead asleep. It's the only way I'm able to sneak in and out without them being bothered, because they're sleeping. But yeah, I'm not going to give out the location for multiple reasons. I want to protect the building. But it sounded like a rock on rock. It sounded like maybe even a piece of the tile on a rock. A poltergeist entity through the rock. In my personal experience, and I happen to have a good amount of poltergeist experience. I lived in a poltergeist haunted room for 6 months. Every single day for 5.5 months straight, and then residually for 2 weeks in the next room I rented. So it was a solid 6 months. Two poltergeist demons. For the longest time, I thought it was one. Poltergeist demons threw objects consistently every single night, to the point where it wasn't scary anymore. When poltergeist stuff around you, and this isn't crazy, I have no mental illnesses. And if I see a single comment concerning, oh, you crazy dude, first of all, it's illegal to diagnose someone from a distance. Also, it's slander, and it's actually dismissive. Dave Chappelle went to Africa. I use this analogy over and over. When he quit his show, Chappelle's Show, the #1 show, comedy show on TV. Chappelle's Show. He had a $40 million contract he walked away from. He flew to Africa. People that made fun of him said, "You're crazy, dude. You're insane. You're out of your mind. What are you, smoking crack?" Dave Chappelle said, "I went to Africa with my family so we could have a peaceful environment. You think I'm going to fly past all these cities that sell crack and get my crack in Africa? It makes no sense. I wasn't on crack. I wanted to clear my head, become one with nature, get a perspective that wasn't from Hollywood." He went all the way to Africa. Then he came back and he saw all these stories about him in the newspapers and magazines, calling him insane, calling him crazy, calling him just, no one walks away from $40 million. You're insane. And Dave Chappelle had the best comeback. He said, "If you don't want to learn about my life and why I went to Africa, just calling me crazy is dismissive. You're just dismissing the person without even attempting to try to learn from them. I'm not crazy. I've purchased thousands of dollars of this type of equipment, turned it on, and have had intelligent responses. I don't have a single human being physically with me that ever helps me with the video, with the mic, with the lighting, with the wardrobe, or with the equipment. I do this solo, 100% solo. If I had another crew member, I'd give them a t-shirt, I'd give them a hat, and they would be on camera, trust me. I was 100% alone at the 1830s house. I went back a second time because the first time was successful. I successfully recorded on camera, this very camera I'm using to record right now, an apparition, which I didn't notice until editing a year later almost, because I didn't see the apparition. I wasn't looking through the viewfinder. When that rock fell, I immediately looked without the viewfinder. There was about 5% visibility. It was pitch black, but it's just a natural reaction. You naturally don't want to look through the viewfinder. So at that particular moment, I didn't look through the viewfinder. Otherwise, I possibly would have seen the apparition. It's not the most outstanding apparition, but it's not an orb. That's what's outstanding about it to me. It's not an orb. The guy that said he was dust, I deleted his comment because he said, "Oh, it's just dust, dude. Check out my website. I'm a professional ghost investigator. I hunt ghosts for real. This guy's this guy. I'm good. I'm the best. He's the worst." That's a blatant advertisement for your piece of garbage channel. Now, maybe you're going to build it up one day and make it an amazing channel that dominates ghost adventures, and you're on TV, and I'll be like, "Whoa, that guy's a professional." But from what I saw, it was very brand new. Like no views, no subscribers. That doesn't mean anything, dude. No views and no subscribers is where I started. At one time, I had no views and no subscribers. I did a vastly different thing, busting time travel hoaxes. But this channel's always been educational on the education section. And to this day, I'm not here for entertainment. I'm here for the education section to educate. 99% of the viewers are going to think it's a joke and dismiss me. Like Dave Chappelle said, it's an easy cop-out when they just say, "You're crazy. That's not real." I've been taught that's not possible. I've recorded it. This thing was set off on night 2, February. Oh, not February. I didn't own this in February. I might have ordered this in March or April. It took a couple months to get to me. In July, I had this for the July investigation. And then I used it again for the September investigation because it was a success. I can already tell you what happened in the second investigation in July. I set this thing up. I turned it on. And then I turned my camera after I turned it on. Big mistake. Never turn on ghost investigation equipment at a place you know is haunted or even think might be haunted until after you've turned on your camera. Because the ghost, the spirit, whatever you want to call it, the intelligent spirit entity was so interested in this device, it immediately played with it before my camera was even on. Luckily, I captured about 50% of it. So I did record about 50% of it being played with. And I was a distance away. I set it down and I immediately started filming. I recorded about half of it. I said, "Oh my gosh, I wasn't ready." But I don't have a contract with the spirit. You know what I'm saying? I always distance myself from any contract. Be wary, in my opinion, as a ghost investigator. Don't ask the spirit to do too many things. If you're going to ask the spirit to do something, ask the spirit once per investigation, per night. And this is me driving 600 plus miles to and 600 plus miles back. So I think after that dedication of driving that many miles, I'm entitled to ask one question. It's kind of like magic. It's kind of like a magic ritual. I don't practice the occult. I don't practice magic. But in magic, and I have a lot of occult books, I read them for resource informational purposes. I haven't gained too much from a good number of them, but I've gained a few slivers, a few percentages of information that are validating what I've already experienced, and that way I know it's real. Even if it's from another perspective, I'm open-minded enough to see, hey, that person 1,000 years ago experienced the same thing. That person almost 100 years ago is going through the same process of, the spirit acts like this. 100 years ago, L.W. de Lawrence had the same thought process on, this is how spirits act. Interesting. And 100 years later, he's long gone. I have the same thought process, and I see him talk about it. So that's why I buy and read occult books, because you can't go to a local support group. There are no local poltergeist support groups. I'm sure there are religious groups, but 9 times out of 10, they're going to have no concept of where you're even coming from. That's my personal experience. I'm sure someone out there has experienced the same thing I have to an extent, but no one has experienced the exact same supernatural and paranormal things. It's different for everyone, different degrees, different levels. Footsteps in the grass. Okay, the apparition. The guy, I deleted his comment because he was advertising his website. If you're going to post an advertisement, I'm going to delete your comment. I don't go around advertising my channel. Maybe I should. That's how 3Pac made it. 3Pac went on the Eminem, a rapper, 3Pac, rest in peace. The first time I ever saw 3Pac's comments, I think it was actually on Krispy Kreme, aka Froggy Fresh, the baddest. I think 3Pac said, "I'm the baddest. You're not the baddest. I'm the best. You're the worst." And, you know, obviously it worked for him, because I went to an Eminem video and I saw the same thing. "I'm the rap god. You're not the rap god." And he was funny. People laughed at it. Thumbs up. 3Pac, rest in peace. So if it works for you, go ahead. But on my particular channel, if you have... It's dust, man. Go to my channel. It's not dust, all right? I know for 100% fact there was no dust in the entire video, A to Z. There was no fog in the video, A to Z. That was a legitimate apparition, not an orb. The only time I know of that I've recorded a non-orb. Even that little line thing I recorded on Hollywood Boulevard, I would say is close to an orb. I think it was a legitimate spirit in slow motion. You could see the lines of the entity, just a tiny slice of it, because it's in a higher dimension. Some guy said it's a fly, dude. It's a fly. Even a fruit fly isn't that small. And a fruit fly doesn't move like that into an object and disappear. It's very common with the millimeters. I've noticed, looking at footage, spirits will fly straight into the device and straight out of the device, usually as an orb. But because of the lighting, it looked unusual. But it was an orb. Legitimate spirit activity. I was at the a particular star of a particular actress, comedian, and the spirits followed me there. They followed me the whole time. After rewatching my Hollywood Boulevard investigation, I realized there was a spirit standing in front of the neon sign. And so when I got the first reading, it was a spirit. And then when I kept going, I was getting readings off the neon sign, because the spirit was playing a trick on me. It was a trickster to an extreme trickster degree. Had a sense of humor, you have to admit, because neon signs set these devices off big time. The spirit knew that. It stood exactly in front of a neon sign, so I would confuse every reading the whole time. When I went to some extremely powerful cellular antennas, cell towers, and some power lines, power structures at a power plant, or a mini power plant, whatever that is, I got 0 readings on specifically the static electricity part of the millimeter, which is like this, a REM pod. This is a REM pod. Has like a basketball sized, or maybe a little bit smaller, maybe like a volleyball sized, maybe even smaller than that. It might be closer to this field around it. When anything breaks that field, it goes off. It works. I'm sure there's ways to fake it. As far as me, I don't fake anything. A to Z, I tell the truth. A to Z, I don't lie. I went to an 1830s house. That was an apparition. Didn't notice it until the night that I edited it. I wanted to throw in some information about the pirate. So you're going to see more information on part 2 on the pirate. I was going to end on the pirate. The good pirate is this guy. Here's some of his history. But when I saw that apparition, I was like, whoa, I'm ending on that. I'm not going to end on talking about the pirate. I'm going to end on that apparition. I personally don't believe the apparition is the pirate, or the former pirate, the ex-pirate. But I did go to the former pirate's grave. I went to his grave at Mission Santa Barbara. I went there. I visited it. I recorded it. He died so long ago that his marker isn't there anymore. But luckily, he's buried with his family, and his family's markers are still there. So that's how I know where he was buried. I'm still doing more research on him, but I believe he did help build Mission Santa Barbara. A couple other missions, including a couple grist mills. I did a search on grist mill on YouTube, and I found, wow, there's like multiple ghost investigations at grist mills. And I realized I should have done a keyword search before I named this thing, so it sounds kind of generic. So when I compile it into a huge documentary, I'm probably going to rename it The Freaking Demon, because I have a theory it's probably a demon. But I also have a theory it is very short, or at least it manifests very short. It manifested like 1 foot off the ground according to that apparition, or maybe 2 feet off the ground according to that apparition, because I was standing. So next time I go there, I'm going to try to go there in the day as well. I don't know if I have time to go there in the day, but now I know I did go in there in the day, and I did get some day shots. But this is before I saw the apparition. Now that I saw the apparition, and I will replay it in a new commentary. I don't want to add it here. I don't want editing. I'm just going to throw this video up, 0 editing. The reason I know I'm not crazy, this stuff works. It has captured authentic spirit activity. On the 3rd visit, I said, I'm about to leave. I'm going to Los Angeles. I said, I'm about to leave. Before I leave, can you set off these devices? I'm headed to Los Angeles. And bam, it set them off. That was 100% a spirit. To the person that said, you programmed that. I did not program that. I don't have the know-how and wherewithal to program this. I don't know how to program it. I tell the truth, I don't lie. This is a static electricity sensor. Just like this detects static electricity on a level which is impossible to fake by going 1 light at a time. The spirit, I'm actually glad it did the 1 at a time, because touching it, rubbing your hands against a balloon, whatever, you're going to get sporadic movements on it. You're never going to get exactly like that, ever. There was no one in the house. Thing was locked, padlock. I've never seen it without a padlock. Searching and searching and searching and searching. I found 1 video of people entering the grist mill. People entering it. They were high school students from my very high school. Taking pictures and mapping the place. I don't know if I'm allowed to use that footage. I'll try to upload it. We will see. I don't know. I don't want to give away too much information. If someone's really good at searching, they might be able to find it. Please don't spill the beans on where it is. I want it to be a pristine place, not just to protect the environment of the spirit, which I actually am concerned about, but to protect the physical environment of the historical monument that hasn't been bothered by tourists. There's a tourist town not too far from the location, and I would really not like them to trudge through private property and bother the location and steal rocks and dig for treasure or just wreck the place. I've never taken a single rock, not a single stone from the location. I have respect for the location. The footsteps in the grass. Around 4:30 a.m., I knelt down on 1 knee while my other leg was just, my leg was probably sideways, 1 knee, just a regular comfortable position to try to turn on my second camera. this camera right here. The reason I really wanted to turn it on is because at the time, February of 2018, it was the only second camera that had night vision, or at least it does have night vision. And I was able to use it on the second visit, maybe the third, I can't remember. But it's pretty low resolution, made in China, not the best. It's a knockoff of a GoPro. I wish I had a GoPro with night vision, but as far as I know, they don't make GoPros with night vision. You can get one modified, possibly. I know there is full spectrum modifications. I don't know about night vision modifications. But the footage was not that good. So I was like trying to get it on and it was dead. The battery was dead. At this point, I think it just has a low battery life. I think I need to USB charge it in the car and unplug it. And actually what I did was I got a motel room, either July or September, can't remember. And I had a USB plugging in everything. I had a power strip plugging every device I could in, extra batteries. I have an extra battery for both cameras. I don't have an extra battery for this guy because it's a tiny knockoff of a GoPro battery, and I would have to special order that, but the footsteps in the grass were real. They were very loud. It was like, from my perspective. I only had this camera. I didn't have external microphones. I have since purchased a shotgun type microphone for this camera. I used it in Tombstone. You notice there's a lot of wind. It broke. That microphone broke to the point where really magnifies too much and destroys the audio. It's actually good for ghost investigating because ghosts often will go. I'll reveal investigation 2 or 3. I did have a recorder in the window with the wooden bars, and I said, hey, I saw that people have visited this location. It was after I saw the video of the people entering the Grist mill, taking pictures and doing stuff for a school project, because home of the pirates. They were actually researching the source, or at least the plaque source of the pirate lore of how we got our name at our high school, our mascot, the pirates, and the good pirate, Joseph Chapman. I said to the ghost in the window with my recorder rolling, and I talked to this ghost for an hour on multiple occasions. But with the recorder on 2 other occasions. One huge unfortunate thing, one of those occasions, I had my regular rig set up with the 2 lapel mics, 3 lapel mics. 1 for myself, 2 for the ghost. I had the recorders rolling. Brand new Duracell batteries in them. Everything I use is brand new Duracell batteries, by the way. And it was expensive. 9 volts are expensive when they're brand new Duracells. And as far as the recorders, I switched everything on. Everything was rolling except for the on switch on the Audio-Technica lapel mics. There's a separate second on switch I forgot to switch. So I did a full hour or 2-hour investigation, drove home 600 plus miles, listened to the footage, and it's all blank because the microphone wasn't plugged in. So I did correct myself and I plugged it in the 3rd time. So it must have been the 2nd time. So the 3rd time I did record with multiple recorders, and the spirit doesn't like to talk. Very common thing with me. The 3rd investigation, you will hear it for yourself. Pretty much the only time the spirit might have talked, I think it talked. To the point of going, whew. Very common response from a spirit, believe it or not. Wasn't wind. It was an actual response. I said, there's a lot of people that have entered this building, and I guarantee you, none of them noticed you were here. I noticed you're here. And it went, it went, it might have been like a response, a vocal response almost. It was like, you're right, no one notices. You noticed. It's the reason I respect you enough to reveal myself to you. Key 1, if you want a ghost to reveal itself during investigation, believe in spirits. If you don't believe in spirits, they won't reveal themselves. They will have zero respect for you if you don't believe in them. I saw an old H3H3 video where he's with Post Malone investigating ghosts. Post Malone believes in ghosts. It's probably why he's friends with Zach Bagans of Ghost Adventures. He wouldn't be friends with him if he didn't believe in ghosts. That's their bonding thing. They both die hard believe in ghosts. He's a fan of the show. So it's cool he's able to be friends with Zach Bagans. Pretty sure Zach Bagans has watched at least one of my videos. But that's neither here nor there. I think it was a live stream. The Halloween live stream last year. No big deal. Very few people watch these videos, I'll tell you that. I'm going to keep going. Unediting, no editing. The ghost responded to me. It went when I said, I noticed. But, oh yeah. The H3H3 and Post Malone ghost video, which H3 deleted. H3 deleted it, probably because he got too many negative comments on it. He's a guy that will delete something if it has too many negative comments. I've never deleted anything in my life from having too many negative comments. My Shining video, Warner Brothers said, hey, we don't like this video. We're going to take it down, copyright infringement or whatever. I said, there's not a single copyright infringement in the entire video. They're like, here's our footage. I'm like, those are still images of me doing a movie review. There's not even any video. There's still images. I won the case. I defeated Warner Brothers. I'm a fan of The Shining. I'm a fan of Stanley Kubrick. I give a positive review. I'm not a movie critic. So they didn't like my angle of talking about Vivian Kubrick believing her dad believed that The Shining was about psychic abilities, and she said her dad was psychic. So he related to the story on a psychic level, at least a level where he thought the crux of the story, from her perspective anyway, was Danny has psychic powers, the dad has psychic powers, they can communicate with their mind. The mom, probably not as strong as the son and the dad, because the dad remembers being the caretaker. The chef, he had extreme psychic powers. He flew a plane based on his psychic powers to save the family, because Danny sent a psychic message to him. So that's what Vivian Kubrick was talking about in an interview. I posted that. Warner Brothers didn't like me to post that. Back to the footsteps in the grass. The entity literally sounds like it has tiny feet. You know, there's lore of demons having chicken feet. For a little while I thought maybe it has chicken feet, but it doesn't sound like chicken feet. There's a stereotypical lore of demons having hooves. It could be hooves. It could be hooves. It's possible. Tiny hooves. Tiny hooves. Whatever it was, it had small feet. And I think it was small. Because when I was on one knee, it walked up to my camera and shook my camera. Did I know my camera was shaking at the time? No. First of all, from my mind, the camera was dead still like this. I could hear the But from my mind, I recorded it like, I'm not moving this camera, no matter what happens. That sound is authentic. I could get a Sony Handycam expert to look at the raw file to prove the audio is 100% authentic and actually embedded permanently, authentically in the video file. The audio is not manipulated in any way, shape, or form except when I had to boost it. The microphone on this Sony Handycam happens to be pretty weak, which is why I bought multiple different microphone extensions for this very camera. I bought a tiny little shotgun type thing. I bought a second one, I believe. I'm going to buy another one because they break pretty easily. But the footsteps, it sounded like it was getting its feet manifested and ready, and almost like it charged. I don't know, but it sounds like this. That's what happened. It was a spirit entity. It's 100% authentic. The exact same spirit on the third investigation at night, around 10 p.m., early compared to the other ones. The third investigation in September. I believe it was September 30th, 10 p.m. Put this in the window with two other ones. And I said that thing. I'm going to leave. I'll leave if you set these off. I'm going to Los Angeles. Set them off consistently. Impossible unless it was a spirit. That spirit already revealed itself to me multiple times. So it was comfortable playing with these devices. And the spirit knows. It probably knows. You know, I'm giving it the benefit of the doubt, but it probably knows no one's going to believe the footage. There's a deniability factor. A deniability factor with demons, with spirits. They're not allowed to over-the-top show proof to the world, but they can show it on an individual basis, which is why I invited some people to come with me. Now, understandably, if there's a schedule conflict, no big deal. I've invited multiple people. My nephew, friends from the internet. A lot of them are on a different coast of the United States or in a different part of the world. But if you're ever near Santa Barbara, California, while I'm near Santa Barbara, California, and chances are I won't be there at the same time, I'll be in a different state, a different city. But if that ever crosses paths, friends on the internet, you're all welcome on an individual basis. I mean, I don't want a huge group. There's never going to be a huge group, but I would take a number of individuals, even an atheist. See, the H3H3 guy, he was with Post Malone, and the entire time he cracked jokes. Post Malone's like, let's investigate ghosts, man. I hear the Devil's Creek. I can't remember what it's called. It's in Pasadena, California. I actually considered investigating it, but I only had one day and I didn't have a night. And instead I investigated Jack Parsons' 2 houses on the sidewalk. I like to be respectful and legally just investigate the sidewalk outside of a guy's house. One of the houses was actually up for lease or rent or something. One of the houses, Jack Parsons, famous occultist, rocket scientist, founder of JPL, NASA. He summoned entities, according to occult legend and lore and mythology and history. So I wanted to see if there's any energy, because he lived in 2 houses on the same block, very close to each other. He got divorced out of the first house. So it's understandable he would lose the first house in the divorce or want to move from the house from the divorce. But it's very unusual for him to want to move back so close that he's on just a couple houses down from his first house. So I thought, I wonder if there's an energy there from an occult perspective. So I ghost investigated. You'll see that in the future. It's not phenomenal, which is why I didn't post it yet. Nothing off the wall. The most intense thing that happened during that sidewalk investigation is, I believe, one of the residences that is right next to one of Jack Parsons' former residences. I got a spike, which seemed like a spirit. A few seconds before a car pulled into it. We're talking, I got this spike, which seemed like a legitimate spirit after walking up and down for 40 minutes. I stopped and looked at the spike. And this car is way down the road. Many cars have come and gone. Many cars, many cars, many cars. I get this unusual spike. And then, you know, when I say 10 seconds, it might have been 1 minute. 1 minute later, the car pulls in the driveway. It's like, whoa, that's interesting. I wonder if the spirit of the guy who lives at this house was investigating me before the owner even drove into it. Spirits have that ability. Do spirits sit shotgun while you're driving in an empty car, except you by yourself? Most definitely. But can they fly home ahead of you? Most definitely. Spirits have an intense ability. I did an experiment where I asked a spirit to touch my GoPro. I have 2 GoPros. Here's one of them. I was driving down the road to get some dinner one night. This was a long time ago. This was after Mysterialis Investigation Experiment 1. This was around the phase of Experiment 2 where I was contemplating, should I even do this? I believe I did post it, but I never explained what I was doing when this spirit started touching and playing with the microphone on this GoPro. I was in my car miles away, not too many miles away, going to Jack in the Box. And maybe I did explain it, but this is interesting to me. I was a couple miles down the road and I said, if there's a spirit, can you touch the microphone on my GoPro? Or I didn't say microphone specifically. I said, can you play with my GoPro? Can you knock it over? Pretty sure I said that. I wasn't recording myself driving. I was just listening to the radio. And but I was saying it for fun to see. And it's a scary thing. Maybe don't do that if you're not comfortable with it. I'm not doing it again. Got home, listened to it, listened to the recording. It wasn't knocked over, but it was considerably touched. Microphone and even a dragging sound could be heard. A plastic dragging sound. So I think maybe it tried to push this and it was too heavy, and it pushed something lighter, which was off camera. But you can hear it playing with the microphone. I don't even know where the microphone is. I guess it's right here. It's a tiny microphone right here. The spirit literally played, probably internally, with this microphone while I was a couple miles down the road. How is that possible? I guess spirits can travel at light speed. On the 3rd investigation at the 1830s house, the spirit set off these devices, and then after the last light was turned off, I believe it was actually one of the side static sensors. After the last light was turned off, almost immediately I heard in the same corner, next to the stone wall, the same footstep can be heard in the 3rd investigation video. Now, I wasn't focused on it. I didn't have my camera on it, but you can hear it. It's the exact same sound in the exact same corner. The apparition flew toward that corner. The apparition flew toward the corner, and the rock that was thrown by the poltergeist entity, it threw it from, it was a hard, I think it was a rock. It was a rock on rock or rock on tile. It was either a rock that hit the roof, a piece of tile that hit the roof, a rock that hit the rock wall, a piece of tile that hit the rock wall, a piece of tile that hit the pool, if you will, the reservoir there, or a rock that hit the reservoir. Those are the only 3 things I think it was. It was most definitely a spirit poltergeist immediately responding to, can you make your presence known? It threw an object, rock on rock, for maximum impact. I mean, just think if it was a piece of tile on the grass, there would have been no sound. A rock on the grass would have barely made any sound at all, but it was rock on rock. That's the type of thing a poltergeist is going to think about. Humans don't think about stuff like that. I mean, not on the level that poltergeists think about it. Their ability to manifest is very limited. So the fact that it walked on the grass, manifested potentially small feet, manifested hands, grabbed my camera. I couldn't see it. I filmed the whole thing. The visibility was actually pretty high with the grass. Because I remember having a light, a UV light, or not an ultraviolet light, but an infrared light, an IR light. I was holding an IR light with a couple fingers while I was holding the handy cam. And I was trying to turn on the second device on one knee. I turned and never touched a blade of grass that made a single sound. It's authentic footage. It's real. It's authentic. It's the real deal. I would personally rather be dead than upload some clickbait garbage. This channel is 100% real. I understand there are people that like my channel and want to turn it into a meme, and I'm not against that. I mean, it worked for Review Bra, although he does food reviews. So, you know, I mean, a food review meme, it's not a big deal. EA Coetting, become a living meme. H3 made fun of him for that. It definitely didn't hurt him. He probably got thousands of subscribers from that. Didn't hurt him. People still post in the comments, probably, become a living meme. It's no big deal, because he's growing a fan base. I personally don't agree with everything he does, or even anything he does, but information I'm a fan of. So, no, I appreciate him putting in blunt words what he experiences in books. That's actually valuable. So I do agree with publishing books. I do agree with having a supernatural experience, putting that in a book. I agree with that 100%. If I don't agree with his philosophy or whatnot, the book and the information, very important, very important. This video has gone on way too long. I thank you for watching. The footsteps in the grass were of a legitimately manifested spirit entity. Could have been short. Could have been a gnome-like creature, a leprechaun-like creature. Gnomes and leprechauns, by the way, they never were physical. They were never physically real. They've always been spirits. The leprechauns and gnomes of ancient mythology were always spirits. They were never physical. They were, if they existed, which I do believe some of them did, fairies. I'm going to be talking about that in a future video. Speaking about future videos, on a spirit level. You've already seen this probably. This is my future videos. I posted this on Instagram. Ghost.hunting is my Instagram. I posted this on Twitter. @Razimus is my Twitter. Pirate House documentary is top priority. Dr. John D. and Edward Kelly, part 3 and 4. I've had a lot of people say, where's part 3? Where's part 3? Where's part 3? Because part 2 ends with no ending. Because I always intended to do part 3 and 4. As a matter of fact, I have a folder with part 3 and 4, and I've had that folder for years. How come I never got to it? Because, you know, telling the history of some guy that thousands and millions of people already know about is not as important as first-hand showing spirit evidence with my thousands of dollars of ghost investigation equipment I haven't even paid off yet. But Ghostamane, I don't know how to pronounce it, but he made a hit song about John D. It's called John D. And a lot of people from Ghostamane fans checked out my Dr. John D. video part 1 and 2, and they really want 3 and 4, I'm going to deliver and give it to you eventually. Attributes of Demons part 2, I thank you for the submissions. It's open for submissions. As you can see, we got time. So if you want to send your Attributes of Demons submission, whether you're pro-demon, anti-demon, information is information. I'll include it. Fair and balanced. I'm probably going to have neutral / beware segments. Attributes to an extent here and there. They can manipulate emotions. I learned that recently, more so than I ever knew. The Demon Poltergeist Haunting of John Razimus, that's me, part 2. I filmed footage about a year ago. Matter of fact, on my way back from the Pirate House in February, I probably filmed that way back then. Have never edited it. I did a quick investigation, got a couple spikes, nothing huge. I don't think the demon hangs out at that house anymore. So, I think it was assigned to me, as I always said, and I don't think it's ever bothered anyone on any extreme level ever again at that particular house. But spirits don't die. So those spirits, those demon poltergeists are somewhere, probably assigned to someone else or hanging out at an 1830s house. It's hard to say. Fire in the Sky review. I watched Fire in the Sky recently and looked at it from a different perspective. Whether you believe the story is true or not, my review will be entertaining, perhaps. Not my goal and angle, but I'll try to have, you know, a unique review you've never seen on that movie. And I was going to do the same thing with Communion. I saw a parallel with those two movies. Magic Creek. I got to keep that a top secret. I'm going to have a video with Magic Creeks. Ahriman. I read a book called Ahriman, the demon, and promised I'd do a review on it. Will do it. If I'm hesitant about doing book reviews, it's because I've been doing live investigations with ghost investigation equipment. And my book reviews, shoot. I thought I did a good book review on L.W. DeLawrence's little telepathy booklet. No one owns that booklet but me, that I know of, and very low views. Nobody cared about it. We're talking, there will be me spending thousands of dollars on occult books no one's ever seen for the last 50 years. And I dedicate a lot of time and effort getting that book exclusively for an exclusive book review. And if I'm not recommended, nobody sees it. And then someone says, "Yo, man, I heard about this Necronomicon, and it was like scary or something. Check it out, brah." 1 million views. So, life is not fair. All right. JD, top secret. KDC, KDC is actually, I'd say 50%, 60%, 70% edited. I just got to throw on something at the end, controversial. People are going to hate me for it. JP, top secret. New device, invention. I invented a new ghost investigation device. I haven't soldered it together yet. To be honest, I need to buy a soldering gun. Need to drill some holes, put some LED lights, solder those LED lights in a manner in which I can remove the antenna and replace the antenna without anything being broken. You can interchange the antennas. But it is an actual new invention. It has little features here and there. Nothing too advanced and extreme. A variation perhaps on what already exists. But I think it's unique. It actually is unique. It focuses on static electricity. Spirits can set it off. Hopefully. Never tested it. It's still in the soldering process. Don't have a soldering gun. But that, stay tuned. I'll take that to the 1830s house. That'll be the first place I'd like to test it out. But the mall parking lot that's haunted, I'll test it out there. Painting. Oh yeah, painting. I still need to paint this as a painting and put it on my wall. It's a tougher process than you would think. Double-sided masking tape, not easy to find. So I'm going to have to go a different route. Intro for the channel. I got some ghost investigation shoes. I got a bunch of equipment. I was going to do an exaggerated parody of getting ready for a ghost investigation for the channel intro. But then I realized I don't want people to think it's a joke. This isn't a joke, but I can make fun of myself, so I still might do it. We will see. Alchemy, I've read a couple books on alchemy. The Rosicrucians, whether they existed or not, have a deep history to an extent, and they had a unique perspective on alchemy. The Far East, the Taoists, Buddhists, people that believe in the way, they most definitely have a unique perspective on alchemy. One you're not going to see in Western movies or video games. Very cool perspective. Lead into gold. Edward Kelly wanted to turn lead into gold. That's the most common alchemy, but I'm not going to be talking about that. That's literally a decoy. The sun makes gold, and short of the sun, or the power of a sun, it's not too easy to make gold. But alchemy, it's going to be an interesting, probably series. Corners of Rooms is my Corners of Rooms book. I hold fast to that Corners of Rooms theory. The spirit at the 1830s house, I don't know if it was this tall or if it was just pretending to be this tall. They can shapeshift, supposedly. The footsteps in the grass is real. I will, at my last dying breath, if anyone even remembers or cares, and they say, hey, Grandpa, was that 1830s house really haunted, or did you fake that? I'll say, my last dying breath, it's real. If you believe the spirit is there, not on any fairy tale BS level, but if you respect the possibility that there's an intelligent spirit there, it will consider you worthy enough to reveal itself to you. Guarantee. It hasn't considered most humans worthy. Rightly so. Many spirits don't consider humans worthy to reveal themselves, rightly so. I think it's an energy drain for them to even try to reveal themselves. So why are they going to waste their energy, which they've been saving up for who knows how many years, to reveal themselves to some D-bag that's going to make fun of them? Spirits respect. And when H3 made fun and cracked jokes about his friend Post Malone looking for ghosts, surprise, no ghosts showed up. But looking at that video, I see there are multiple reasons why ghosts didn't show up. They used regular flashlights. They never used infrared. They were never in pitch blackness. Spirits can see in pitch blackness. They love pitch blackness. They can show up in the daytime. Spirits have showed up in the daytime. But at night, they will really pay attention. And they will... People are sleeping. Things are silent. You can hear them better. Moving something small if they have that ability. But there's a huge group of viral socialite jerks, and they all went to hunt ghosts with Post Malone. A ghost isn't going to like a big group of people. It's going to look like a mob to a ghost. A ghost who is already invisible isn't going to waste its energy revealing itself to a mob of people looking for a ghost. So when I go solo to this 1830s house, in the middle of the dark, pitch black, only the tiny screen of this very camera in night vision mode, I take that tiny screen away, I couldn't see anything. I might as well have a blindfold on. You put that tiny screen back, you have one eyeball. And you can see. Or you move it away, you have a tiny screen of visibility, which is hard to get used to. Which is why I twisted my right foot close to a sprained ankle. It was actually concrete. Someone dumped concrete in that wooded area. I tripped on the concrete. It wasn't any of the natural trees or environment. Someone dumped a bunch of waste concrete illegally. Anyway, I'll say in my last dying breath, it's real. Those footsteps were of an actual manifested spirit. I think if you're respectful of the spirit, it'll do the same for you. The fact that I've been there 3 times in the middle of the night, 3:50 a.m. to, I don't know, it was about to 4:50. I was there about an hour. I wanted to leave before the sun came up. In February of last year, we have July of last year was about 1 a.m. And then September of last year was 10 p.m. All 3 times the spirit made its presence known. All 3 times. Never as phenomenal as the footsteps in the grass, and never as phenomenal as that apparition. Accepting on a scientific level, I would say, scientific-wise, when it set this off and the other 2 ones beside it, systematically after asking it to, scientifically speaking, that's literally impossible unless I rigged it, programmed it, faked it somehow with no one there at a locked building. I've never seen that padlock off the door. No access inside or out unless you're a bat or a bird. Scientifically speaking, that actually trumps the footsteps, because from a skeptic's perspective, the footsteps, did you add audio? I didn't add audio. I can reveal the raw file. The raw file will sound like this. Because this particular, look it up, Sony Handycam has a very bad microphone. It has a lot of amazing features. It has a Zeiss lens built in. It has a Steadicam built in. One of the best night vision cameras on the market. A lot of ghost investigators get it. I got this camera even before I ever ghost investigated, not knowing about the night vision feature. I bought it just for YouTubing because I wanted a Handycam. I didn't want some camera that only recorded for 15 minutes. For lengthwise, this camera will record forever. I've taken up way too much of your time. The footsteps in the grass are real, authentically embedded permanently on the file that I've recorded with this Sony Handycam. A spirit actually walked up to me, shook the camera, stepped on the grass. First time that's ever happened to me, but it's not the first time I've seen footsteps or heard footsteps. I heard footsteps in 2011 at my haunted poltergeist haunted room. Spirits stepped on any empty plastic bags, or maybe even partially empty plastic bags. I could hear footsteps on my plastic bags, and I haven't learned my lesson, but I haven't heard anything like that in my room for a good 10 plus months. So residually, spirits come back, but luckily not in 10 plus months. It's probably been 11 months at this point, maybe even 12. No. It's about 10 plus months. Anyway. And then I saw them jump on the green screen. I saw the feet. I saw the impressions. What did the feet look like? You know, I was so amazed by tacks flying off the wall toward my face. I was literally dodging tacks flying off the wall. And I did get a look, but it was a split second. It looked like small human feet. The feet looked like they were about, I don't know, they were pretty small. They were about this big, 3 inches long. They were particularly small. And then I saw it stack, seemingly invisibly, and it was pulling down the green screen, and the tracks almost flew in my face. I've had many supernatural experiences. I've never lied about a single one of them. I speak the truth. I would take a polygraph test, but you can beat those. You can beat it. One thing you can't beat is putting your story in a book, dying, and many of those copies still existing, and people passing down the stories from generation to generation, and someone opening it up going, wow, that happened to me too. This is validation and confirmation, and I will do that eventually. That is my goal. Until next time, I thank you for watching. This is John Razimus. Be seeing you. There's a process. I got to turn off this. Got to turn. Wow, 1 hour and 16 minutes. I'm going to try to keep every single second of it in there. You're hearing my voice now with the microphone on this camera. The microphone on this camera is horrible. If I yelled, you could hear me, but I'm purposely talking a little bit quiet because the in the grass with this camera's microphone were very weak. I can actually try to reproduce it in the future. I'm going to try to show the positioning in the future. You'll see exactly where I was kneeling. I actually did go back in the day and I did try to recreate it, but I don't know if I was in the exact spot. Thank you for watching. It's phenomenal to me that I captured such a thing, but it's understandable it's underwhelming because I didn't package it as something where it would be taken seriously. I suppose if it was on a major TV show, people would take it more seriously. But it's going to disappear through the fog of the garbage videos out there. It's too bad because it's possibly the only footage of an actual spirit walking in grass toward the camera and grabbing a camera. It actually happened. It's a true story.